All things rotten, all things corrupt, come from the void. Our galaxy stands alone. The universe devoid of stars and light, other than our own. And the light of our stars protects us from the darkness beyond. Our soldiers and ships are stationed in every corner of our galaxy, an eye vigilant against the creatures that come from the void. Emerging from the creatures were tendrils of metal and teeth as hard as diamonds. As they swam in clusters of millions, they formed a wall of darkness, effectively blotting out everything in their path. In days past, our galaxy sprawled over a majestic expanse of the universe, a vast canvas of light and life. But these chaotic entities, these harbingers of disorder, have slowly gnawed away at its edges, feasting on the stars that once surrounded us. But we fight. We have built weapons and armies. All the species of the galaxy have a common enemy, an evil presence, with its sharp knife held against the neck of the galaxy. We have all moved to the center, creating structures surrounding the Galactic Council. We have built and sent out weapons and placed bombs on every star at the edge of our galaxy. If the darkness tries to consume it, it will trigger a supernova in an attempt to contain the spread. Our scientists examined the horde and came to a conclusion. They are nano-machines from a different part of the universe, likely after eating up its whole galaxy, spreading out to consume more. All things rotten, all things corrupt, come from the void. But today, something came from beyond it. Space twisted above the skies of our cluster. Something we had never seen before, lightning in the vacuum of space. It looked like cracks, energy slipping from within something that was pushing into our space. Something massive. Then they arrived, the beings we soon came to know as humans. At first, we thought they were robots, weapons related to the ghastly enemies of all that is living. We aimed our weapons and prepared to let loose. But suddenly, we received a message on every frequency available. An oddly universal signal that we all understood. Something was loading. This thing wanted us to wait. Oddly enough, this symbol that had somehow felt intuitive, so it was easy to understand. They came in peace, but had no idea how to communicate with us yet. And suddenly, an envoy appeared, shaped like a water droplet. The ship was chrome and had a mirror finish on the outside, with no signs of engine exhausts or any propelling mechanisms. However, it moved closer to our cluster of ships, slowly. It stopped and sent out a signal in our communication frequency, using the galactic protocol. "Hello, can you understand this message?" Reply to confirm. The voice filtered through, possessing a childlike quality that was both endearing and disconcerting. High-pitched, deliberate, and slow. Thousands of replies sent at once. The signal was at a frequency that any ship could communicate with, and we had plenty in our space. "Please find a representative soon. We would like to formally communicate with your kind. When one is found, fly close to us and we will send out a representative of our own. We will wait as long as needed. Thank you." Then it flew back to the main ship, which stood motionless. It didn't communicate any further, simply repeating the phrase that it was waiting for a representative. This went on for a whole election cycle. Finally, our government decided on a small envoy of representatives, led by a Kralik. Each representative was from a major race, and the Kralik would speak for them. That's when we first saw a human. It had golden full-plate armor, like an ancient warrior. And behind him stood a row of soldiers carrying swords and maces. They all floated down from the ship, flying through the vacuum of space without protection. We didn't understand how they could do that. Once they walked in, our sensors picked up the shield around each one. A small bubble of air, shielded with unknown technology. We could sense a pulse, warm blood within the body of these humans. These creatures were undoubtedly advanced, but not robots. Brand, the Kralik representative, narrowed his eyes at the armored figure before him. "Our language is not an easy one to grasp. Yet you speak it, as if you were born to it. How did your kind manage it?" The human representative gave him an easy smile, their voice sounding almost amused. Our kind has never been one for limitations. We scanned your frequencies and pieced together your language, complex though it might be. We, representatives of Hot Node, the human government, are here because we noticed a massive nano-machine swarm slowly consuming your galaxy. This whole area of space is essentially void of any life or stars, and we are here to offer salvation. And we will allow you to decide which form that salvation takes. The human showed his teeth. He was a predator. Not the easiest type of creature to trust. How do you plan to bring that salvation? Dran challenged, sincere desperation creeping into his voice, despite his natural tendency towards assertiveness. The human envoy, emotion momentarily flickering in his icy eyes, responded with an unusual hesitance. Nothing is impossible for our gods. The human continued after a few seconds. But to make things easier, you can think of us as merchants. The swarm runs on powers we recognize, but destroying it will be rather expensive. There are other, more affordable options. Gods. We know you're just using advanced technology. Your gods are not really gods. You must know that, right? Your scientists worked rather hard on that shield of yours, the one that allows you to fly and breathe air. The other envoys looked at Dran nervously as he spoke down to the representative of the humans. The human seemed flustered as he looked around. What technology? He replied, his voice pitched higher. This is all magic. Power given to us by our deities. And we have no need for scientists. The human was obviously uncomfortable. Perhaps Dran had insulted his gods. Surprisingly, the meeting concluded peacefully. Our envoy was given a box with a large red button on it, and 3 options to choose from, each with a different price to pay. And with that, they got on their ship and disappeared in much the same way they arrived, through violent thunderous cracks in space. They came from beyond the void. I spoke with my fellow representative in the break room. Although we originated from different races, we were able to communicate easily, using the universal language designed for all sentient races. Proposed terms. Complete eradication of the enemy swarm in exchange for full galactic submission to the Hot Node. Alternative. Transportation of an endangered race and its main planet to a safe galaxy, conditional to providing us access to the complete knowledge and technologies of the transported race. Refusal of aid. We return with harsher terms when you become more desperate. Despite our discussions, we remained undecided, leaving the ultimatum untouched and under guard. Many cycles passed, and the void continued to grow. One day, while our kind was slowly inching towards agreeing to the demand, their kind returned. However, this was not the same envoy. This section of this universe has been transferred under new management and is therefore under the control of a different deity. She will be arriving as soon as you confirm you understand this message. Spoken individual, a woman dressed as a wizard and carrying a staff. 2 floating tomes hovered beside her. We don't quite grasp the implication, but the words are comprehensible. I whispered, my eyes transfixed. Good enough. The being replied. She seemed to have heard my mumbled words. Picking a floating tome, she flipped through the pages, stopping at one near the end, then raised her staff and chanted something in an unfamiliar language. Then she appeared, materializing in front of us. Our scanners couldn't penetrate the aura around her, and cameras saw nothing but a dark void where she stood. She wore a beautiful black dress and had a golden arm. Hello, how's it going? She said, baring her fangs. I am the goddess of the sun, the goddess of rulers. You may call me Kay. We are yet to agree to the terms you previously proposed, but we are willing to negotiate. Dran stated, and he could hear a slight tremor in his own voice, which he hoped went unnoticed. He was always strong, always the one leading. But this time, the uncertainty of his people's fate weighed heavily on his shoulders. Oh that. Ha ha. Yeah, don't worry about that. That was a mistake. One from the lower ranks of our government sought some achievements and went around tricking various sentient beings into submission. Their god can get a bit distracted. He didn't notice what was happening. He's quite forgetful. A mistake. Whispers filled the room. With regret etched in her ethereal features, the goddess admitted, I don't usually intervene directly. But it appears, the foe you face, they're remnants of our past. An unintended consequence of human actions. The room fell silent out of shock. They were resource collectors from a war that occurred before your time. Their job was around to gather resources and energy. Humanity wasn't always united, and records from back then have mostly been lost. Still, when we encounter things like this, we endeavor to clean up the mess. Consider this visit as us formally cleaning up our mess. I see. And what of the ultimatum we were presented by your envoy? Dran inquired, his voice steady, despite the astonishment in the room. The goddess waved her hand dismissively. Irrelevant. Please disregard it. Your very existence and your continued perseverance in the face of certain oblivion drew my attention. And then, I discovered the forgotten remnants of an old war resource gathering process encroaching upon your domain. We will deal with this for you, free of any cost. She smiled, her sharp features softening. Of course, you will. How can you stand there like that? Those things killed billions. We've been fighting them for tens of thousands of cycles. Stopping them is the least you can do. You should be begging for our forgiveness and offering reparations. Dan was angry. This personality was the reason he was put in charge. He was not one to be pushed around. The goddess started to laugh so hard it held its belly. I like your spirit. But do not confuse my kindness for weakness and my presence for regret. Billions die every day. And the war our kind fought is the reason biological life can still exist in this galaxy in the first place. But, well, I do love the way you fight for what you believe is right. She raised her golden arm and suddenly a cube appeared on the floor. Here's a gift, a control system that I've programmed to control the swarm, made from the material of your galaxy. You can take what is yours and do what you want with it. We will only take the material gathered from the galaxies surrounding yours. This is all processed material. If your kind knows how to manage it, prosperity will follow. But you will do it on your own, without our help, because you were rude to me, and I don't like that. Suddenly, she disappeared, leaving behind her wizardly follower. Wow, she's really cool, huh? I've never seen her this close. The follower could not help but remark. I still had a taste of dissatisfaction in my mouth. With a final wave, the wizard woman grabbed her floating tomes and, like her deity, faded into nothingness. We were left standing in a silent chamber, the cube pulsating with an eerie glow, in the middle of the room. We didn't waste any time. Within moments, specialists were brought in to examine and test the cube. It was as the goddess had claimed. Built to interface with our computers as if designed just for us. We could control the once all-consuming, horrific swarm. And we gained resources beyond our comprehension. It gave our civilizations a glimmer of hope, an inkling of a future that we had long given up. Months turned into years as we slowly reigned in the chaos that had devoured the edges of our galaxy. The void started to retract, galaxies returning to the forefront. The familiar, beautiful tapestry of the universe, long obscured by the void, was gradually revealed. It was not an easy or quick task, but with each passing cycle, we reclaimed our galaxy and eventually expanded beyond it, armed with the knowledge and technology the nano-machines represented. Years later, the memory of humans lingered with us, like a haunting melody. We recalled them as complex paradoxes. The harbingers of the darkness that threatened our existence, and yet, the miraculous saviors who delivered us from oblivion. Their eerily calm demeanor during negotiations still sent shivers down our exoskeletons. Their uncanny power, their esoteric association with gods, and their ability to balance their predator instincts with a strange kind of empathy left us puzzled, awed, and occasionally fearful. They possessed a duality that we could not fully comprehend, making them the most enigmatic of beings we had ever encountered. The power to manipulate and use the nano-machines in sustaining and growing our civilization was an unfathomable gift. With it, we ushered in a new era of prosperity, standing on the precipice of endless possibilities. We had turned from hunted to hunters, from survivors to explorers. And yet, we were unable to find any signs of humans or any living thing beyond our galaxy. Wherever the humans came from, it must have been very, very far away. The author's name and the link to original text is in the description. Consider tapping the thumbs up and pressing the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video.